given that Craig has mentioned the name of this thing, I'm going to actually ask you all... No, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to ask you all to make an Arcana check to work out what this is in character. It's fine that it's fine to mention it. I was going to ask you this at some point anyway, and now feels like a good time. So you have a break in the action.
16.
There's no way that Alan knows what one of these things is. Is Arcana's -1? I don't think he'd even...
17? So 16 plus 1, so...
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you beat a 14, you'll be able to know what this thing is. So yeah, Faria and Wendy. Faria, you've heard stories about these things. They are usually... They're very much what they seem to be. They are like psychic brains on legs. They are capable of rendering people unconscious with the sheer blunt force of their mind. And sometimes what they'll do is once they've done that to someone, they'll psionically kind of teleport inside their skulls and take them over, and then it can know what they know. And you reckon actually that what that might look like if it did it to a person would be not dissimilar to what you saw of the professor in their office.
And what I felt directly. I can see that happening very much.
Yep. So Wendy wants to use mind link on this thing. Let me just check the exact rules of how that works.
This is either going to be very good.
This is wild. Bad. I did not see it going this way. Oh, wow. Okay, so you don't need to share a language with the creature for it to understand you, but it must be able to understand at least one language, which it does.
Okay.
And you can give it the ability to speak back to you.
Yes.
All right, great.
Right?
Now, Webster, think very carefully about what voice you're about to give this thing. It could be around for some time.
It's just not expecting this thing to need a voice. This is amazing. All right, what do you telepathically say to this intellect devourer that has been cowed into submission by Jack Poliarkin holding a knife over it?
Okay, so at the moment I'm not planning to crush you like a walnut, but you need to give me answers. What were you doing in the office?
We don't want to be crushed like a walnut. Please don't. We were just doing what we were bid.
What was that?
The master wanted us to reach out and try and find out about how this place interacts with places like home.
So
the master wants to find out how it all works.
What did you steal from the office?
We didn't steal it. We devoured it.
So you didn't open the drawer in the office?
Oh no, we opened the drawer and we ate the tasty book. You ate
a book?
Yes, and now we know what it said.
Now we kill it. Eating books, unacceptable.
Librarian in me is raging right now.
Who's your master?
Yeah, the master is master.
Mm-hmm.
The master waits.
The master waits where?
Down below. We needs to report back.
So at this point, I'm going to assume that if the others can't hear this
They
brain.
cannot, but you can be narrating it to them.
Yes, I'm not going to do the voice, but I'm going to narrate.
Good. I don't recommend doing the voice. It's already killing my throat. I know that's your choice.
Right, we need to speak to him for a while longer now.
Can you sit down cross-legged next to it? Tell me a
Yeah,
love
the
story.
entire book.
Folks, what do we want to do here?
Do you think can Sarah tell whether it's lying or its intent?
That's a
or
good
it's
question.
Sarah could make an insight check. I would say because you're connecting it with it on a telepathic level and it's been cowed by an intimidation check, you'd be making this at advantage. So roll
because
twice
I'm
for the
wondering
highest.
if we could trust it to lead us to the master.
That's what I was thinking. I'm not sure we can. Well, I guess if I've got 50 foot, I could just keep it in my claw and it can scuttle off. But anyway, so I'll
Like on a lead,
Sorry.
like taking Pet Brain for a walk.
Like a bloodhound.
Which check? Sorry, James.
Insight.
Okay.
Can we call this
so-
episode "Freak on a Leash"?
Oh, I've got.
Is that a copyright thing?
Oh, so that's only a 16 in total.
1 second. You get the sense very much that this thing, while smart, doesn't have a lot of guile in it.
Okay.
Like, it feels very much like it wants to do its job. It's been prevented from doing its job, and it's scared of you and doesn't want to do anything that might jeopardize its ability to carry out its task and get back to its master.
Right. Okay. So maybe we can make the assumption then that since it was out here, it was on its way back to its master when Farrier spotted it. So should we follow it?
As you say, let's bargain with it for its life. It said it didn't want to die.
And that's true. Does anyone else have any messages for it that I can relay?
Not that are suitable for a public audience.
Yeah. No, not really.
I can't
no.
imagine Farrier is very happy with what's going on.
No, she's sitting on the floor glaring at it, like staring daggers and like producing like little electric bolts from her claws. Like, if I was holding you right now.
Please don't electrocute it because part of my claw is metal, so that
Very
would not end well for me.
All right, well, she changed it to flame then. All right, here we go.
Okay, so back to the brain on legs then. I'll say something like, if you were tasked to find things out, why did you attack people?
Well, we wanted to know what it knew.
So instead of just devouring more books or asking, you decided to kill someone. That tells us a lot about you and your kind.
I don't and that's a problem.
It's the unfortunate nature of these weird creatures that the way they find things out is to consume it, so they can't connect, I guess. Can't take this information without essentially absorbing it into themselves. So I'm the one sat here having my brain exploded saying it may not be its fault, but at the same time, it could have had that consideration first.
Yeah, okay.
I think that the thing continues speaking telepathically to you, and it's odd because, like, it's trying to convey concepts telepathically in across languages, right? Like, this thing doesn't speak common, but it's you're communicating in basically pure concepts.
Yeah.
So what you get from it is kind of a sense of surprise that it's an issue that this person died, and this.
So
and I
don't get the feeling that it's vindictive or malevolent on purpose, and I'll relay this back to the group.
Whoever sent it is the person who is responsible for what happened to Faria.
Is your master a creature like you?
My master is a creature, yes. Our master is a being.
Does your master look like you?
And it thinks for a second and then goes, on a certain level, like under the skin and bones.
Okay. Can I ask this creature in concept to give me a mental image of its master?
We're probably going to see what its central nervous system looks like.
Yeah, that's absolutely what happens. You just get a sense of a mind and a brain that is inquisitive, and kind of like fond and thought and of this intellect devourer. There's like there's a certain amount of care here directed at it, and a level of acquisitive inquisitiveness directed outwardsly at the world.
Okay. Well, even if you didn't mean to kill someone, you killed someone, so we have to do something about that. So I think to the rest of the group, I'm going to say that I can ask it to lead us to its master if that's what we want to do, or I can just end the issue now.
I think we should let it lead us. I mean, it's like community service, isn't it? It's done a bad thing. It can do this bit.
I can't imagine that. Oh, what's her name? Grand Orderly Austin is not going to be impressed if I turn up with this thing and said, "Look, this is the thing that killed him." I don't think she's going to pay me.
It's acting on someone else's orders too. I think it's more pertinent to have it take us to who did this.
Yeah, what if it's got like 5 more of these things?
Yeah.
Well, me and Wendy will be all right. We've got street smarts.
I chuckle nervously under my breath.
Does it look like the previous dead person, was it Professor Zephyr? Looking back, although I know we didn't really look at the body much, was that a related or similar kind of thing? Are both of these deaths related, or is it just a coinkydink?
I think you do not recall a pool of blood around Zephyr in the same way.
That's what I thought.
And I think that's given the brevity of your time in that lab, that's the most you're going to get out of that.
If Wendy's on MindLink, can she seek out the knowledge that the intellect devourer, I probably can't ask on Wendy's behalf. Is there a sense of the knowledge floating around that it took?
So if that's something you want to ask Wendy, then that's a thing that Wendy could inquire about.
Okay. And I asked, do you know? Can it tell you what it found out from the guy who it turned into soup in there?
So I'll ask the creature, what did you find out from the professor?
We found out many things.
Anything that your master will find most interesting?
Yes, we think the master will be interested to know about how this place works and who's in charge and the kind of things they tend to do and whether they will hide and keep people.
Whether they will hide and keep people?
Yes, whether they'll make them a nice hidden nest.
I relay this because I'm not quite getting the threads. Okay. So to the thing. We want you to lead us to your master. Can you do that?
Oh yes, I can follow the trail back into the down place just through that. And it kind of indicates with one little leg at the grate. Yep.
Things are going to get
Yes.
stinky.
Wendy, can you ask it how it got here in the first place in its master? I mean, because it's obviously not from here, is it?
That's true. I
I'm
relayed a
slightly
question back.
worried that the machine that Busty has turned on has left a big hole for these things to walk through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you get a series of kind of like flashes of memories as it tries to tell you what happened. You get a memory of this weird kind of chamber that's almost like it looks kind of like the inside of like a multifaceted gem. This that looks like it was bored out of some kind of kind of like glistening rock, and kind of like floating at various points in this chamber, various bits of kind of like mundane furniture, but also weird kind of esoteric equipment, kind of like magic runes floating in the air as well around kind of different like jars and cylinders and just weird things that are just like arcing kind of poles with energy floating between them. And amongst that, there's a figure that's almost kind of in shadow, because again, this thing doesn't really perceive people through eyes, like through using light. It does it psychically. So there's this kind of figure that just has this quite protective but also like defensive and inquisitive aura about it, and it seems to be asleep, and it suddenly wakes, and then it flashes a bit forwards, and there's this scene where this figure is kind of messing with some of the equipment this thing can sense with different magical auras coming off it, and there is a kind of flash of arcane energy that's quite similar to the flash of arcane energy where that Alan and Farah appeared through.
Okay.
And this person doesn't step through it, but kind of seems to be making some mental notes. And then there's this another flash of this person kind of looking out a window, and this thing is kind of mentally seeing what the figure is seeing, which is again a big floating, looks quite a lot like the gate at the center of Ramshackle, except it's cylindrical and floats in a great kind of void above a skyline. And it's flashing open, and there's this sense of worry and dread from the figure, and then another flash of arcane energy is of that kind you saw before, but this time the figure does walk through it.
Okay.
And
So
wasn't there
to the
something
group,
that
I
came
say,
something came through the gate either last night or the night before, didn't it?
Yeah.
I
It was
didn't know what it was.
around yesterday the gate opened, and there was a suspicion that something's come through or something will come through, because it had opened unexpectedly, and it hasn't turned off at any
what
point.
I just saw wasn't the actual gate itself, was it? Do we think?
I think it was the gate on their side, maybe.
Maybe. Potentially. Okay. So I'm just going to say, I say we follow it. We go
think
back
that's the best
to
idea.
whoever created this mess and deal with them on their own terms.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they're like this thing and they don't realise that what they're doing is not right.
Well, we certainly need to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think this thing prepares to lead you off down the grate, and that's the point where I think we will pause and end this episode at the very least. It's been a
I'm
good
just
amount of
picking
time.
up, just before we go, I'm picking up my arrow. I'm thrifty.
Great.
I'm
So
putting myself back at 20 now.
So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for this episode of IQ D&D, the Ramshackle Adventure. We'll be back next week as our party gets stinky and explore the sewers.
It's always a sewer. Why is it always a sewer?
Always in the sewers.
Okay, so to get back into it,
Right.
you've had your chat with this little brain on legs with this intellect devourer. It's happy to lead you down through the grate, which if you take it up, a person can just about squeeze down into the sewers. How are you following it? Are you attaching it to the hook and like having it on a leash in front of you? Yep, brilliant.
Yeah, but I'm being very careful. I'm specifically trying not to grab too hard.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you kind of the hook is still kind of looped around it, and you just attach the rope, kind of winding round one of its legs and tying a knot on there, so you don't damage the brain.
Yeah.
I love how your really cool grappling hook hand has so quickly become a retractable leash.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now it's just you're off walking your little new pet brain through the sewer.
I feel like I need a little emoji of this.
100%.
Oh gosh, yes. So what I'm gonna ask for as you climb down to the sewer is the bane of any adventuring party. I'm gonna ask you for some climb checks, which goes off athletics.
Oh, no.
It's not going to be too hard to climb down into a sewer. You aiming for like I think a difficulty of 12 you want to hit to get through without any kerfuffles.
Oh, it's athletics, not acrobatics.
It is. You could use acrobatics if you wanted.
No. Wendy does not want to use her acrobatics.
Okay.
Negative skills.
I will use acrobatics and I get 12.
Super. So yeah, what order are you going down? I assume
I'll have
Wendy's
to go
going
first.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I don't mind following Wendy down though. So
I got 12 as well altogether.
Great, that's what you needed. So yeah, when this thing kind of leaps down into the sewer, there's and Wendy jumps down afterwards, and you just avoid when you hit the kind of ground of the sewer. You just avoid overbalancing and falling into the little rivulet of waste at the bottom of this sewer tunnel. What were the other rolls? Farry also got 12.
Yeah.
19 for me.
Yep.
I have no modifiers on this, do I?
Let's see what you've got for Jack for your acrobatics or athletics. So yeah, you have your basic dexterity modifier of +3 on your acrobatics. So just roll and add 3.
13 +3.
Marvelous. So yeah, Alan leaps heroically down, does that 3-point hero landing on the drier bit of the sewer tunnel, and scrambling down afterwards, kind of just like hanging from their hands from the grate, and then dropping down, follow Farrier and Jack, and you're now in a sewer tunnel. And I will just swap maps quickly.
I guess I should get my lantern out. Anybody else got a lantern?
That's true.
I can produce flame, so I can. I was going to ask whether there are any flammable gases down here before doing that first, though.
That's a good point.
Good question.
In typical Alan style, he is unprepared
I've got a block of incense.
and has nothing with which he can light the way. To be fair, he's probably just
I've
going to
got a
stick next to
candle.
Farrier anyway. So
Yeah.
I'd rather not,
if she's
because
got
I've got one hand with the rain thing and the other hand with my sword. I'd rather not not have a sword because I can't drop the brain thing.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm happy to use my hooded lantern.
that would be good.
That could be good.
Do you want to come second then?
I have dark vision too, so I can see a fair
cool.
Oh,
distance.
good. At least someone does.
So, yeah.
Oh, I have as well.
Hey.
Oh, there you go. Well, if Wendy and Jack go up front then, because at least they've got light and dark vision, and then if Farrier and Alan stick together at the back, then Farrier can see, and she has light as well, doesn't she?
Yeah. I can check
I was
for
thinking in
stuff.
case we get separated, if both
Yeah.
humans
Yeah.
end up in a very dark room, all of a sudden we are screwed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very annoyed that I prepared my spell list and didn't include cure wounds. Like,
Whoops.
Yeah, it's fine.
I have lay on hands, I think.
I think that stabilizes me. I don't know that it heals me.
I've got 1 point of healing hands.
You have a pool of healing power. You can restore a total number of hit points equal to your paladin level times 5, so 5.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think lay on hands, even if you pop 1 point into someone, it instantly, pop, that's it, you're stable and you're up to 1.
Okay.
It does indeed.
And 5 points cures a disease or something like that.
Yep.
I've never played a paladin, I can't remember.
Are you healed up, Alan? Craig?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
I second winded myself, so I'm good.
Okay, cool. I'm still only at 4.
So we're keeping this brain and calling it IQ, right?
Or...
Just as I went to get a drink, I was like,
for short. Ick.
ick. Yes, because it
Oh.
is disgusting. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called ick, spelled IQ. Right, that's going in there.
All right.
It's probably limping at the moment.
Yeah, doesn't it have 3 legs now? Did it have 4 before? How many legs do they have?
Well,
I think it lost a leg. Anyway.
There's 4 on the picture.
Oh, right, okay. There you go.
How's that? Has
Yeah.
anything appeared?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. I
Yes.
just had to be on the GM overlay
Oh,
layer,
yeah, there
and
we go.
that's how that works. Now I know.
Cool.
Phenomenal. So yeah, you're the intellect devourer, which I think has probably given its self-identifier as amygdala, but that you can rename as you wish.
Ick.
Ick.
Is yes, and you will just from now on call Ick. Is scurrying ahead and leading you down a tunnel.
Okay. I'm going to follow a few steps behind, but giving it enough rope so that the rope's not sort of on the floor, but not super tight either.
Super. So it continues scurrying along, and it goes down, taking the tunnel, which turns to the right,
Okay.
and it moves out of your sight, but you're still connected by the rope.
Okay.
So move
Someone
yourselves
want to,
as you
like,
wish to move.
Sneak it. Does somebody want to sneak ahead and make sure that we're not going to get jumped or anything like that?
Well, I'd probably feel something on the rope if that was going to be the case.
Hopefully.
It might not jump Ick because it might be expecting Ick.
I'm going to go long way round the corner.
I'm going to peek round this side here.
So I'll head up with Farrier, but I'm just keeping an eye out behind us just in case anything.
Yeah.
It came
So,
from behind.
yeah.
Icky.
Okay.
Icky. Come on, Icky.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just adding a thing.
No worries.
Good thing.
No add things. No.
Oh, we
Is
got
it- you don't need to
got a
worry
disembodied
about
hand
it.
now too.
It's okay. There we go.
We're just watching Hugo there, and all of a sudden, they went really narrow-eyed. Like, what have you figured out, Hugo?
No, I'm just suspicious of noises going, here we go. And like, it's dangerous when the GM says that.
Yeah. It was the don't worry, there's nothing to worry about. I think that
Why would there be anything to worry about?
ooga.
Oh, gosh, this
Can
is
you light a bit of incense, Wendy? It's getting a bit pungent down here.
I don't think it's going to make any difference whatsoever.
No, just shove one in each
Also,
nostril and
I'm
light
holding
it,
a
and it'll make a
sword.
big difference.
I kind of need at least one good hand and somewhere to ledge my elbow to light an incense stick.
I'm still nervous about flammable gases, methane and the like in the sewer. It might smell bad, but I'm made of very flammable fur, so I don't want to run the risk of just.
Yeah. So as you're going down the sewer, yeah, just make me a perception check to see. First of all, this is just for flammable gases, but we'll keep the score for the next little bit.
It's natural 20 for me.
Oh, natural 1.
Oh, so 24 total.
All the extremes of the spectrum here.
11.
I'm
I'll put it right in the
focusing
middle.
on the little ick, I think.
I genuinely don't think this dice has ever rolled a natural 20 before.
Ooh.
And I've had these dice about 6 years.
I got a 12, by the way.
Amazing. So yeah, on a natural 20, Alan, you've smelled flammable gases before. You are extremely experienced with anything that might explode. And you are very aware that while it's not fragrant in a good way down here, it doesn't smell dangerous in that way to you.
Oh, cool.
Like, you are not super worried
like
about lighting
farts.
a match.
Yeah, it's fine.
And yeah, although what you do, there are two things you hear as well. One is the heavy kind of thud of Wendy's boots, as Wendy is like spending more time working out where to step and keeping track of Ick than kind of paying attention to anything further out in the world around her. But underneath that thud, you do hear a sound of scurrying from around the corner in the passage ahead of you.
Ooh, is that...
So I'm going to reveal a little bit more of the map because Wendy can see a bit more. Can probably see about that far down. And from Wendy, from what you can see, there's more tunnel which branches off in two directions. Ick is heading vaguely towards the kind of turning towards the left here. And Alan, you haven't gone around the corner yet, but a way off, you can just hear that scurrying.
I'm just going to whisper to Farron and say, you can hear that, right?
I presume I can. I don't know. Scurrying. How do my senses...
now that it's pointed out to you, yeah, you can hear that kind of little scurrying of...
Is it multiple scurrying?
Yeah, you can hear, you're not sure quite how many, but many little feet on stone and the occasional little squelch.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I'm just going to kind of like stare out into the darkness beyond the light and just be like, oh, don't.
Yeah. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go?
I think there might be more of these things.
What?
Wendy, let Jack go first.
Yeah, I'll flipping go first.
Yeah, that's fine. Just let Jack go first.
Go on then.
Yeah. So
I'm getting my sword out though.
Like a carrot at the end of a stick.
Yeah.
So Ick continues down and turns down down that opening. Yep.
Just in terms of got to be careful not to sort of cross the rope or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, you found them there. And do Farrier and Alan move along behind as well, or are you staying down that end of the...
I'll just scurry
Yeah.
scurry along behind. There you go, hanging back.
Yeah, and as you move down there, Alan, you can now hear that scurrying sound coming from the tunnel behind you as well.
Oh, crap. Well, that took exactly 30 seconds before we're surrounded by whatever these bloody things are.
And I'm gonna roll a dice. Just because
Don't roll.
like your natural 20 stands, but there is a chance that whatever this sound is might also roll a natural 20 on its stealth check.
Yeah, true, yeah.
It does not. So at the kind of in the shadows at the edge of the light, you see flickering shapes, and at first you think, oh good gods, it's more of these little brains, more intellect of ours. But then as the shadows start to kind of be thrown into up on the wall, you look, okay, no, that's not quite round enough, that's not brain shaped, that's just like a regular rodent or something, and the shadows making it look huge, but it's not huge. And then you see it kind of something kind of flit out from one shadow into another, and as it moves between those two places, you see, oh no, that is large.
Oh,
And
big rats, big rats, big rats.
Indeed, appearing in the tunnels around you are several very large, 4 rats at least, rodents.
No.
Brilliant.
You would have never got past the rats.
You notice 2 up ahead of you, or rather down the tunnel to the south of you, and one emerging to the north of you. And that's the point where I would ask you to roll initiative, but given the time and given we're about to have a combat, if you've already rolled, you can just write that down and we'll remember it for next time. But I think that's probably a good place for us to call it for today, and we can resume with you fighting rats when next we get.
Somebody blew their nose, but it wasn't any of us.
Yeah.
It was the brain.
Real snotty.
Doesn't have eyes, but does have a nose.
It's not snot.
It's a mental
It's mucus.
Yeah.
Or it might have been a brain fart.
Hey.
Oh.
Oh no.
Sorry.
I felt that.
That's this episode's title.
Psychic damage.
Yeah.